All right, everybody. Welcome back to Punches and Bunches, the official podcast of the South Texas Amateur Boxing Association. I am here today with Roland Gamez. He is a boxing official, he is a boxing announcer, and right now, of course, he is the number one ranked level 3 USA boxing official. Roland, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And I really, really treasure the opportunity. Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with this. You don't become the number one official overnight. Tell us about your journey in the sport of boxing, starting at the very beginning.
Matthew, it's such a long story because I never knew I loved the sport as much as I loved this sport when I first started. What got me started in this sport was I had my what do you call, how do you say, my tail end handed to me by a young man at the age of 8. And my dad said, that's not going to happen anymore. We're going to learn how to protect ourselves. Long story short, got in the ring. Nobody believes me on this one, but I'm going to tell you, I know I'm being recorded. I had over 250 bouts that even you don't know about it. I probably lost every one. Long story short, I became a fireman, a policeman, and I left the sport, not knowing that what experience I had really resonated at the age of 48. I got back in the ring as a fire chief and fought a policeman. Long story short, I'm here now because it bubbled out of me that I really wanted to be part of this sport. Asked Debbie Holmes, who was what we now say our chief of officials at that time, kind of helping me out. Long story short, I said, I know I just fought. How do I get? How do I become part of this? And that was in 2005 when it resonated. And so from 2005, I've been a USA boxing official. Not that I'm counting days. October the 29th, 2005, I took my officials clinic. And then I just fell in love with the sport and wanted to be the best, just like you, Matthew, just like you. So all you listeners, that man that is organizing this right here, I see him in the ring with every desire not to be number one, but to be number one in his own heart. If that turns out to be number one in the USA level 3, it just happens to be an added milestone. So no, Matthew loves the sport. He loves being there. And Matthew, I think every trait that I had, you actually have that within you as well.
That's wonderful to hear because, of course, like I said, you're number one on the list. You're hitting your 20 years in October. So let folks know what's your routine. I mean, how did you get to where you are in the sport? Is it rule book study? Is it film study? Is it signing up every weekend? What's the secret sauce?
I love what you're asking me. I think the biggest part of this is resonating the rules and regulations. We always say in our clinics, we want you to be not Mr. Know It All. I tell everybody in my clinic, I want you to be Mr. or Mrs. Know It All in your heart. Okay? Be an expert on the rules. And I think what my my signature move is that one guy was cheating and he saw me on an airplane and he wanted to see what my ritual was. Well, out comes my book, my national handbook, my rule, my RJ. I know I'm going to hear it again at the nationals. I know I am, but I want to know that it's just nothing but memory recall. And the biggest thing is that once you know the rules and you become an expert on them, that you enforce them, that you don't hold back, Matt. Not that you want to call the foul because you want to be Mr. Know It All, but you call it because you want to maintain a level playing field for both boxers. That you don't give one the advantage. I don't care if one's a national champion and the other one is just rising. You want to keep that playing even. And the only way you can keep that playing field even is to know the rules and be able to enforce them. A lot of people know the rules, but they don't know how to enforce them because they become very hesitant. And it's experience that really draws the line. I do watch films, but not with the regularity that I would say it's part of my routine or regimen. But I'm going to tell you, at least once a month, I crack open that national handbook. I crack open that rules and that RJ manual. And more than anything, I'm going to let you know my secret now. This is a secret, and I'm going to put it out there. When I get through taking the test, the first thing I do is I go back to my hotel room. I open up that RJ manual and I open up that national rule book and I start highlighting what I remember was on the test. So that, don't tell anybody my secret. That's how I made chief in the Dallas Fire Department. Every time I'd take a test, I'd come back and I always tell everybody I took the test again. Everybody says, "How do you take the test again?" I said, "Recall."
Recall.
So you highlight it. But anyway, I guess that's my secret.
So you mentioned in there knowing how to enforce them. Sometimes as a referee, maybe a coach was mean to you, maybe a coach was nice to you, maybe a boxer was nice to you, maybe a boxer was mean to you. It doesn't matter because you got to play it right down the middle. Knowing how to enforce the rules, how to assert yourself. How does a referee not be shaky when it comes to the foundation there of being the level, the sole arbiter right there in the middle?
The first number one thing you have to is to have confidence in your heart and in your mind. What I always tell everybody is this, is that you put the actual rules and regulations right here. Okay. You, this right here called your heart right here becomes that actual governing tool that dissipates what comes out of here because you put this and this together. You know the rules. You know you can't be emotional other than know the rules. Then you have to reverberate that in a way that red, blue, whatever. And you got to believe in yourself to know that that is the call. I never forget one of the biggest calls I called one time, and it was right by the supervisor's table. Red was leaning in on blue. I'm not making up the colors right now, but I told Red, I said, "I'll let you work, but you can't lean on him." Okay, so I gave him a soft caution from a standpoint that I didn't stop it. The guy did not stop leaning on him, which now I've become a hard caution, as you well know, Matthew. And right when I said stop, blue was coming back off. I looked down and the supervisor does this. That's what you call, you know, being a referee. And, it's just little things like that that sometimes we don't actually get taught exactly. You know what I'm talking about, Matthew? We don't get taught that, but we get taught you can't lean. You can't lean on people. Now you've got to transpose that leaning that is an action item, be able to see that as a referee, call it, and then enforce it. So there's a lot of things missing that, don't forget, I fought for had a little bit of not a good amateur career, but I fought. So I know what it feels like to be in there with 10 seconds left. And those are the longest 10 seconds that you can feel, especially the third round. And you've already given it your all. And you're just hoping, could you just ring that bell? Get this over with. But that's the part you're talking about. How does a referee do that? You've got to hide everything. When I say hide, know it in your mind, hide it in your heart, and then be able to enforce it. And that comes along with experience, Matthew. One of the biggest things that I was ever, ever, ever complimented on is that we were at a national tournament. There was a referee going in, and one of our chief officials said, "Where's Roland? I want you in the ring." And that was just an act of I don't know of confirmation that really made me feel good. And you're going to make mistakes, Matthew. I still make mistakes. The other day, mouthpiece in, and I said bite down. My evaluator said, "No, Roland, it's mouthpiece in, bite down here." It was the way I put my hand. So uh, Dave, what's it, David Labrato? I can't think of his last name right now, but I said, "Okay." Sure enough, I looked in the rule book, and that's what it does. You do all the action to yourself, not because that right there is talking, as you well know. So little small stuff, and I'm picking apart the rule book, but that's what it takes. That you start learning the little parts that may make that difference between one and two, so to speak, three and four, five and six.
And I'm sure when you go to these national tournaments that there's a lot of people out there, younger officials like myself that seek your mentorship. And so how do you balance, kind of focusing on your own refereeing, focusing on your own goals, and also, being a mentor to the younger generation that's coming to you for advice?
That's an excellent question. Matter of fact, the reason I'm a little bit late right now is because I was mentoring a guy on the phone right now. uh, Mr. Villarreal,
Mm.
and he called me up and we were talking a little bit. And I think what really drives my boat on the young guys and mentoring them is that when they seek your mentorship, your experience, that really lights a bulb up in me from the standpoint that I know that they are willing to take the time to come over and ask, Mr. Gamez, could you please look at me in the ring? Mr. Gamez, I came back out here and, I've got this question. I think one of the biggest things that the younger generation, and any and all of us, not really younger generation, but any and all of us, like I go to David Lobato, Dave, could you watch me? And everybody thinks I'm number one, which I'm ranked number one. He said, yeah, I'll look at you, Roland. I'll never forget. Ray Silva said, Roland, why did you give that 8 count? I said, because he was hurt. He was stunned. He goes, why'd you take your eyes off of him? Okay. He said, you were worried about the other guy in the other corner, about him going. He said, no, you to keep, here I am again, you keep your eyes on him. Let the supervisor, let the official in charge, let somebody else take care of that stuff. The reason you called an 8 count is for the safety of that boxer in that situation that you just told me. Don't take your eyes off of him until you know for sure that he is okay. And if he's not okay, he's still yours, Roland. He's yours. Safety number one. You know that. You teach that all the time. So to answer your question, I love it whenever the kids come up to me, and I call them kids. I know they're man. You're man. You're man. But I call them. Hell, I'm coming up on 70 now. So, God, is that true? 67. How about that? There's a difference. But anyway, I think if I would tell anybody seeking knowledge, seeking the mentorship of a mentor, is your first step in really seeking that top level type of input. And I say top level because at that point you don't know. You're asking because you want to know. Even me, I'm asking. I'm asking and receiving information from guys that have more senior, more experience, and they always seem to be open. So I think the number one thing is you. When I say you, not you, Matthew, but you, the official, need to seek that information, and you need to make yourself vulnerable in a certain way to constructiveness called criticism. And so that's my 2 cents. I light up when a young man, lady official comes up to me and says, question. Got people from Memphis call me up. I hate to put names out. Kansas City, female, call me, Roland, on this right here. Get a number of phone calls, but that right is that right there is such a trigger point for me in a
Let's
good way.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's switch lanes a little bit. Because the first two times I saw you at a boxing event, you weren't dressed like a referee. You were wearing a suit. You had a bow tie on. You had a microphone. You were the MC for the night. I've seen you a few times working as an announcer. How did you get into boxing announcing?
Well, what happened was that when I started in 2005, I heard, and I'm pretty sure we've all heard these announcers that uh, you could probably, because they're so boring, you could probably iron off that ironing board. Boring, just get out there and just. And so I kind of flippantly said to Debbie Holmes, Debbie, I said, God, that's so boring. I said, these kids have fought hard, have trained hard, because I've been there before. I said, they need to be recognized. I mean, it's tomorrow's champions. They're fighting today. She goes, well, if you're so good, why don't you grab that mic? She said, to this day, I wish I would have never said that. And that's how it all started. I got the mic, and And I'll never forget the first two kids that I did 50 pounders. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to another beautiful show. I said, we see 50 pounds. No, 100 pounds of TNT. And so from there, there was a promoter, a professional promoter in the audience. And he came over real quick and said, hey, I've never heard anybody get excited like you and make these champions, these kids feel like world champions. He goes, "You want to do my promotion?" And that's how it started. And so things have really gone well for me. I've been to the Cayman Islands with Manny Pacquiao, Roy Jones Jr., doing shows not only from the standpoint of officiating, but ring announcing the finals and the pros. So things have really, really kind of escalated for me in that from that perspective of boxing.
Absolutely, and I think from experience, I think we all had a lot of fun listening to you do UCIBA last year. That was a really good time. I think you had it just right for the moment. Let me ask you this: we've got a busy schedule this year, both in Texas and at the national level. Texas Golden Gloves coming up. There's going to be national tournaments coming up. What are some of the events you look forward to every year? Some of your
Oh God.
favorites?
Well, I just got through getting off the phone too. We're getting some clinics lined up here in our LBC. I'm the clinician, so we miss that part too. Yeah, I also teach them from the standpoint of a studious type of environment, classroom environment. So we were talking about trying to get some uh, um, uh, clinics done here, but we've got tomorrow. I'm going to be in Fort Worth Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday because Saturday I'll be in Tulsa helping them with their state Golden Gloves Saturday and Sunday. A guy named Hector up there called me up. After that, I'm going to do UCIBA over in Macon, Georgia, the latter part of this month. And then in the middle of April, I'll be flying out to Lawrenceburg, Indiana to do the NCBA. And then from there, that Saturday or the championship, we're all flying because there's going to be other officials that are going to be at the NCBA in Lawrenceburg. And then we're going to fly over to Pueblo, well, Colorado Springs, and then shuttled into Pueblo for the international event. So as you can see, I don't like boxing. I love boxing. So a little busy.
A little busy. Let's close out with this one. We always like to end on a lighter note. You've been in the ring, you said 20 years, and you had boxing experience before that. The reason, they tell us to read the rule book is, because these situations might not happen every time, but when they do happen, you want to be prepared. So with that in mind, what's the craziest situation you've seen in a boxing ring?
The craziest thing that I've seen and what I have not seen, but I'm prepared for, because the first thing I'm going to tell you, Matthew, just go through your mind and say, what is the one thing that would happen in that ring that I am not prepared for? You got to answer that. Okay. The craziest thing that I ever had, and it really didn't happen in the ring. It happened. They tried to catch me at Train the Trainer. They had me in there refereeing, and a guy goes down. Okay, he goes down, and I start my count. Then guess what happens at about count number 4, number 5? The kid in the neutral corner goes down. Diabetic incident. Who would have ever dreamed of that?
Oh,
Nobody. Okay, so I'm over here counting 5, and I'm thinking this guy goes down. Paramedic that I was, I'm thinking, how did this guy go down? So I start counting on him. This kid gets up. This kid's down. And I immediately call it and call the doctor to the ring. Okay, thinking the worst possible scenario. He's in some type of diabetic ketoacidosis, insulin shock, something like that. That was the crazy thing that entered my mind. The takeaway from my story that I'm telling you right now, Matthew, is that there are so many things that can happen, but the one thing that you want to remember is the safety of the boxer. Now, when this one got up, and most USA boxing officials probably don't have the knowledge that I have of a DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis incident, or anything of that nature. but it was mine that came in, and they asked me, they go, why did you do that? They asked me. And all of a sudden, Angel said, God, I didn't think of that. So the crazy thing is that the one that actually happened to me was the actual, it was the finals of the Olympic trial. We call it the Olympic team trials. What everybody thinks is just because you win the Olympics here in America that you're going to be representing America. That's wrong. We actually build our Olympic team trials team, our Olympic trials team. They have to go qualify internationally. But here came in two gentlemen. I get called to the ring to be able to take these two guys because one guy's got to get inside and the other guy's a holder. And he knows if blue gets in, red's going to hold him. Before the end of the first round, I already had, don't forget, the Olympic team trials finals. I've already got 2 warnings on one boxer. That's terrible. You know that as a referee. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be disqualifying somebody for warnings for holding. But once we level that playing field, blue rightfully won that. And I was not admonished, but I was stoked. And this right here is really prideful because one of the top guys came over and said, had you not called that, we would have probably had the wrong winner going forward. And but that's a pride I take in that. Not being afraid. I'm culminating everything right here, Matthew. Knowledge of the of the rules, being able to see it, being able to call it, and being able to stand by it, and not letting that fear of a referee who's going to stand tall, stand firm, and call those terrible warnings in the finals of the Olympic team trials. You know, that's terrible. You know, when I say it's terrible, that's what you feel like. Gosh, should I really call that? Should I really call that?
Oh yeah.
You've been there. We've all been there, and especially judging with it all. I know we didn't touch judging very much here, but the same thing in making that call. I never forget, and I'll close with this one.
Okay.
Shakur Stevenson. I was one of 5 referees that watched him who called a decision that he lost against a guy named Ruben Villa, Spokane, Washington. Can't remember what year it was, 2016, 2017. First round. It was, I can't remember what. Again, I really can't remember this, but we went straight across, all 5 judges. Let's say it was Shakur. Then Ruben came back. It was all Ruben, 5. In the third round, Ruben closes out the show, and I'm going, oh my God. I said, but Ruben won. Shakur loses the decision. There's uproar everywhere. Pull the cards, and every judge saw the same thing. It's calling what you see, which comes back to you now, Matthew. You know what I'm saying here. Exactly what I'm saying. But anyway, there's nothing I wouldn't trade for doing, sitting down in that judge's seat again, climbing in that ring, being a referee, being the pride of carrying the USA boxing official as a trophy in my heart, and then displaying it. Tomorrow I'll be doing that at the State Golden Gloves. Are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there on Friday and on Saturday.
I'm going to miss you Saturday. I'll see you Friday. And to all the officials that are coming, we're going to have a great time. We're going to put together another great Texas State Golden Glove team making its way up to Tulsa. And I'll probably be the ring announcer at the Nationals.
So we're going to have a great time in Fort Worth this weekend. This has been the Punches and Bunches, the official podcast of the South Texas Amateur Boxing Association. Our guest today, Roland Gamez, ring announcer, ring official, and currently the #1 ranked level 3 official in USA Boxing. Roland, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.